Fusiology! Well, it's finally happened. The human race has created an invention that will create cheap and clean energy for centuries to come for the AIs that are about to replace us this decade. US-funded research at Lawrence Livermore Labs has finally gotten a significantly positive amount of energy out of a nuclear fusion reaction, marking the first time this has happened in human history outside of the MCU. Nuclear fusion, which I still pronounce nuclear half the time, even though I know it's nuclear, can I not hear myself? Come on! Is the merging together of two atoms. Fusion is what happens in our sun and all the stars and in some of the fanciest restaurants, as opposed to fission, which is splitting apart of atoms, which is what happens in our power plants and bombs and down at the old fission hole. For more on this, let's go to the drawing board. Very small atoms like hydrogen and helium prefer to be a little bigger, and so when many of them get together and their own gravity squeezes them tighter and tighter, they fuse and let off a bunch of energy in the form of beams of light. In other words, photons that blast us from the sky and help us to see, as well as not freeze to death. On the other hand, very large atoms like uranium and plutonium are kind of unstable and so prefer to be smaller. So when they break apart, they give off a bunch of energy in the form of heat and also millions of tiny splinters, known as radiation, which can literally melt you like the Ark of the Covenant. For this reason, fusion is way safer and cleaner than fission. The only output of fusion is helium, and so the only side effect
is talking like this.
This isn't the first time that fusion has worked. We've been working on doing a fusion reaction since the 50s, but this is the first time that more energy came out than went in. In this case, using 192 lasers, scientists were able to get about 3 million joules of energy out while only putting in about 2 million. This means that a fusion machine can actually power itself with more energy left over. Once you start it up, you can literally plug it into itself and it'll just keep running as long as there's fuel. And the fuel is hydrogen, which is pretty easy to come by. There's some right there. There's some right there. You're swimming in it right now. Anyways, it will take some time before your Mr. Fusion shows up in the mail. But we could see fusion reactors start popping up in the next decade. So if we're not all dead by nuclear war by then, it's gonna be great. Nuclear, stupid. Nuclear. Listen to yourself.